Ladies and gentlemen, this was an advertisement for none other than Mercedes, and it's left the lasting impression. Like I told you, it sees women in a very blue light. In the sense that why do you have to be uh, illuminating women in particular roles? I mean, they are inclusive a part of our society, and now it's time to welcome our guests, our chief guests for today, on whom the whole webinar revolves. And I have, first of all, this webinar is hosted by the Naval Connection in association and together with the Maritime Union of India, the women's wing of Maritime Union of India. And we have the founder and the head coordinator of Maritime Women Wing, Saleha Sheikh. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Saleha Sheikh. He's the founder and CEO of Dynamic Marine Solutions. She is also one among the top 100 women in shipping. Wow. And founder and head of the Maritime Union of India Women's Wing, apart from being a personal leadership and maritime coach. So welcome to this show, Saleha. And and we are all very grateful to you for your time, and we will be really engaging with you in the next 1 hour. Then we have another prolific lady, Mrs. Neeta Jha. She is the director and group learning organizational development sustainability support services at MSC Ship Management Limited. Ma'am, it's always such a huge pleasure engaging with you, and welcome to this show. And I'm sure we all will be going to a huge learning curve engaging with you over the next 1 hour. Welcome to the show, Neeta ma'am. Now we have another a very strong lady, and whenever I'm with her, she's the epitome of energy. I mean, she's so much of energy within her. Just being with her on the stage or being with her close to her gives me an adrenaline rush. The former chairperson and managing director at the Shipping Corporation of India, Mrs. Harjeet Joshi. Mrs. Harjeet Joshi, give it up for Mrs. Harjeet Joshi. Thank you, ma'am, for coming in and enlightening us. And we just really looking forward to engaging with you as here. Another very international lady with international persona, Gillian Carson Jackson, right from Australia, MD of JCJ Consulting, former president of the Nautical Institute London. Wow, passionate maritime professional, and her words in the LinkedIn profile says, words and action matter. See it, believe it, be it. Diversity and inclusion. Wherever she goes, she has inclusivity going on with her. Gillian, we are so happy to have you here with us. Then we have none other than our celebrity seafarer, Captain Radhika Menon. Captain Radhika Menon, for all people who know, is not only a sailing master, but she is the winner of the IMO Bravery Award, and she's India's first lady captain. Give it up for Radhika Menon. Radhika, we are all, and this event, this webinar is going to be watched by so many students across all the institutes, and we've shared the link with all the institutes, and you are a huge role model for so many women and men across the world, and you've done such a great job throughout your career. So Radhika, we are extremely grateful for you giving us time for this, and I'm going to be sure this is going to be a huge learning lesson for all of us. Welcome to the show, Radhika. Now, since this event is being co-hosted by Naval Connection and the MUI Women's Wing, I would like to draw your attention to the Women's Wing of MUI. If I can call upon Saleha to just give us a few words on the starting of the MUI Women's Wing, what it stands for, and what are your objectives and actions. Please, Saleha, if you can just throw some light on the Women's Wing.
Thank you, Captain Shaukat. And this is a great opportunity to be sharing the stage with so many industry stalwarts and amazing personalities who are also my mentors in different ways. I mean, it's amazing. And what better opportunity than the International Women's Day itself? So a shout out to all of you who are watching. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to start with the inception of MUI Women's Wing. This was a vision that I never thought would take me so far. I mean, I had just dreamed of setting up a community support system for seafarers' families, because as a seafarer's wife myself, I felt a very strong need, a support group where I could go out and talk, share about my issues. And with that little idea, I had approached the MUI, and this was around 2008, 2009 that I approached them. And they did like the idea, but probably they got busy with other projects and it took a back seat. But in 2016, I approached them again, having Mr. Amar Singh Thakur come in as the general secretary, and he was very enthused about setting up the women's wing. And with that, there was no looking back. So finally, almost after 7 to 8 years of this ideation, finally the women's wing was incepted in 2017. And since then, it's been a long journey. It's almost 7 years now, almost, and there has been no looking back.
Wow. And I'm wishing you all the luck and all the happiness with the women's wing. I know you are a change maker yourself with being a coach, and you deal with so many women and mentoring them. And you're truly an inspiration for all the women who have their people, who have the men of the households who are there in on board, and you're dealing with the families on the day-to-day basis. So well done, Saleh, and three cheers to the women's wing of MUI. I would like to now call upon Mrs. Jha, and she's such a, like we said, a prolific background of corporate culture and organizational development. I would just like to ask her, Nita ma'am, how can, being in your role, what you do, how can organizations in the maritime industry, how can they actively promote and implement a gender inclusive policy to foster sustainable growth? How does this happen? If you can just say a few words on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain Shaukat Mukherjee. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Greetings from Limassol. We are very glad to be a part of this panel, and we are very, very happy to be here. I just wanted to tell you, well, each organization is unique in its own way, and they can achieve similar results by different means. I will talk about our organization and how we do inspire gender equality and inclusivity. First of all, at MSC, I would like to say that we are committed to enabling sustainable and inclusive growth. By achieving our purpose, we create value for all. Value creation starts with a solid foundation, and it is extremely important that all companies have the right policy in place, and they should be top driven. The company culture and work environment should support these policy. At MSC, we have our business code of conduct, which everyone has to follow and comply with. And in order to attract and retain and grow the female employees in the organization, we have amazing code of conduct contents on speak up online, whistleblower policy, building, amazing and safe environment, bullying and harassment policy, diversity, equity, inclusion policy. This is an integral part of our business code of conduct. This is really helping a lot. And apart from that, with these solid foundation, the company has three priorities for the sustainability. And I'd like to add that we have one of them is the addressing social challenges, where I am actively involved. And here we are working on the human rights and labor standards, promoting diversity and inclusion culture throughout our supply chain. Adding on that, just wanted to add one very important point, that we are also the signatory to UN Women and UN Global Compact Women's Empowerment Principles, showing our commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, leadership, market, and community. So with this, I would just wanted to add few things, that we are committed to enhancing a culture of equality and inclusion by supporting and recognizing women as high-level corporate leaders. Our efforts include encouraging and supporting more women to take up leadership roles in the workplace. We aim to increase the overall percentage of women manager within the organization by 5% in 2024. And I just want to add you one data. To achieve this, we provide lot of training and development opportunity for women leadership through our in-house excellence through leadership program. And as of today, as I told you that I'll tell you the data that over 20% of women manager in the leadership role we have at MSC. This in itself is amazing.
Wow.
So thank you
Wow, wow,
very,
wow.
very
So
much.
these are very, very good data. I think this has progressed over the years as we transcend into a zone where we have more and more women coming up, and this has happened because of the support and that the organization culture has ingrained in your system. So particularly, I like the one that you said about addressing social challenges. You know, I want to come back to you later during this program to ask you a bit more on what kind of societal challenges and social barriers that women have perhaps to come into merchant navy, both ashore and on the ships. While I say this, I would like to turn my head towards Gillian now. And Gillian, being an international leader, being a leader with extensive international experience, Gillian, how have you? My question, I would like to know, how have you seen attributes towards gender diversity evolve in the maritime industry, and what challenges generally? We all know there are a lot of challenges. Can I request everyone on the Zoom call to just keep yourselves on mute, please? Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to ask you, Gillian, on the specific challenges that persist. I know there are many, but what are the challenges that if you're going to pick some of them?
Well, I'd like to start off a little bit first off by thinking about the way the attitude has changed, which I think was your first part of your question. And I was recently
Gillian,
reminded of
I'm sorry to interrupt. Gillian, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think your voice is a bit, it's coming in broken. So I think if you can just say this again.
Let's check my sound settings.
Yeah.
Just 1 second.
And I personally
And how
know
is
that
that now? Is that better?
Yeah,
Do you hear me better now?
it's much better, Gillian. Please.
Okay.
Continue.
Thank you. I was recently reminded me of a rather old cartoon that was probably from about the early 80s. And I'll have you imagine, if you will, a picture of a ship's engine room. It's a line drawing with an engineer, so the chief engineer, leaning over an engine, crying with tears flying. He's got a wrench in his hand. And the second engineer is consoling him and he's saying, "Don't worry, chief, I'm sure it's a passing phase." And of course, the other person in the cartoon is a woman in a rather poorly portrayed sailor suit. And it was this concept of women in maritime. And this may seem really dated now, but actually this is the environment into which I started my career, and many of my colleagues started their careers as well, that we women on ships, we were a passing phase. And initially, I don't think we were really very much welcome. But I've seen incredible changes, and we've just heard about some of those changes that are happening throughout organizations from the top down with the policies and that code of conduct. I see these incredible changes towards women in the maritime, to the point that we have a recognized International Women in Maritime Day even in May. It is exciting to see this, although, and I think you mentioned at the beginning, and that video certainly did show it, I think it would be lovely not to need it. It would be wonderful that we wouldn't need a Woman in Maritime Day, and that we wouldn't need to celebrate a woman being the first, someone setting the scene, breaking that path, making that road for other women to succeed in the industry. The changes that we are seeing, though, are not just for women, they're for diversity of all types. We now of diversity as a whole, such as gender diversity and neurodiversity, just to mention a couple, because the fact that we are focusing on equity and inclusion and acceptance of and recognizing their values. So there's a really quick example I want to see of some of these changing aspects. When I was doing a series of lectures at the IMU, I had a young male cadet speaking up about providing support for women on board ships, even to the point of ensuring adequate disposal options for sanitary napkins or the cleaning of menstrual cups. Now, this actually had me in tears because we are seeing the strength of allyship. And allyship is the way that we can see and to make change. And the work that you're doing, Shrikant, yourself, in bringing these events to bear are so important. Those challenges that you mentioned, though, I will come to those because they are real. And I do like to see the progress and see where we're going, but we still have a long way to come. I still hear of women being turned away from training institutes, from positions that they want because they don't take women. And this is the reality today. And this is 2024, and this is still happening. The girl child is continuing to face so many challenges in so many countries. I actually have a story of a mentee who was advised to drop her studies and married when she failed a course. There was no understanding, there was no support to help her study or do better. There was a comment, basically to paraphrase, you failed, so now do what you're good at, get married and have children. And unfortunately, this is a reality that we still face. So while I don't want to have a need for International Women's Day or an International Day for Women in Maritime, as your video showed, we need to do something. We need to do something to actually bring about positive change in this industry for women in maritime.
Yes, Gillian. I mean, a lot of points that you punched in the answer. I mean, we could have just go and do a full workshop on all the things that you said, and particularly I liked you mentioning equity and inclusion and acceptance. And I was just reminded when you said about that story about the person who was supposed to drop out, and in Indian language there is, in Hindi, we have a phrase which says "Ghar ghar ki kahani." It means it's a story of every household, almost every household. And I think it's a lot to do with subconscious bias. Yeah, we'll come back to that. And now I want to go to Radhika with her immense experience of working, and she's I think one amongst us who's actually doing the job on the ship. And Radhika, drawing from your pioneering experience of sailing, and if you can tell us, how can the maritime industry encourage more women to pursue careers at sea? I know personally you are doing a lot yourself, but as an institution or as a system, how can we progress and particularly inspire women in roles traditionally dominated by men? Radhika?
Yeah, I'm very happy to be sharing this platform with very eminent women, and thank you, Shaukat, for having me. First of all, I would like to compare two eras. That is when I started my career in Merchant Navy, and it is about 34 years of my sea career, and I'm still a sailing master. What I have noticed from the time when I have joined, there were no regulations to address issues connected to putting two genders together, and there were no rules. There were not much of a support system developed at that time. But what I have realized is when you step into a totally dominated gender domain, you are bound to have some problems. And I'm speaking at this platform. I have my achievements all just because the men at those times helped me to climb the ladders and helped me to ease up my difficulties. So all of them are not like that. So that is sure. And in Indian scenario, after I think around 1997, the girls started coming into the stream. But the acceptance came late. That is after 2017. That is a great initiative by IMO for promoting women in maritime. And by then, what I have realized was people were joining, but they were dropping out at some point or another. Sometimes because of the bad experience they had, which is really a bad In fact, it's a demotivator. And then maybe family, it is the biological clock ticking. They have to, women have the responsibilities of starting a family and taking care of the family, like so on and so forth. So in 2017, we founded the International Women Seafarers Foundation, a foundation run by the Women Seafarers settled ashore as well as sailing. Here we were introducing this maritime career at various platforms, which drew attention, and we could increase the number of candidates coming in. We also mentor them into what to expect as job on board and help the parents to decide as to make up the minds to let go the girls over at sea. And when the girls are on the ship, what I realized was when a female comes to a male dominated workplace, she gathers a lot of unwanted attention. So we help them to what we do is we are in touch with these girls on day-to-day basis. We have a lot of mentors. They discuss situation with us. We all are here, and we're being in the maritime industry for so long. This, of course, is a commercial venture, and we should actually establish ourselves here in a nice way. So we help these girls to identify whether they have an issue or not. If they have issue, then how to tackle it by themselves. If it is possible to tackle it by themselves, and if there are serious issues of sexual harassment, assault, and all, then we seek the help of the companies, and we work with so many companies to resolve issues resulting from putting two genders together. So what we have seen is it is a mindset that has to change. In 2019, we were very fortunate, and we put all our ideas together and approached the industry and DG. I am very proud to say that Indian maritime industry and the administration is very supportive of female seafarers, and they have come out with circular for
I think we've lost Radhika for a little moment now. I think I know.
which was first of its
No problem,
listen
Radhika.
to
I know
them.
you are there on a low network zone, and we lost you for a couple of seconds there. But yes, Radhika, thank you very much, and huge applause to you for, like, again, I said what you're doing, and really like the way that you said, that we need to also send us attributes to the men who are there also. And I'm not saying that because I'm a
Captain
man
Shaukat,
myself.
I have not completed. I would like to add one
Okay,
thing.
I'm sorry because I lost you, so I thought you completed. No, please go
No,
ahead.
I have not completed.
Please go
What
ahead.
What I was saying was, we have come. In India has been a good motivator for female seafarers. The industry and the administration have also promoted female seafarers, and 2019 we have come out with circular for conducive work atmosphere for women on board. That is the guidelines, and I think 23 DG has made gender sensitization mandatory. So we have the system in place. The present situation is the tides have changed. I now work with I started my career with Shipping Corporation of India, and I'm very grateful that I have rose up to ranks and taken command in SCI, and they have promoted me. And now working with Synergy, every ship I have the opportunity to sail with 4 or 5 girls. Last ship we were 7, and you would be very amazed to know that there are also girl rating opting for engine room rating post that I had on board. Now what we need to do is to increase the number of women is that awareness is there regarding the profession, which is bringing in the candidates. What we need to actually do is the rightful candidates should take the slot. If the people who come in just because of the height, they don't survive. And we should also have a fire system to tackle the issues related to putting two genders together. That in India we have Madam Joshi is also a part of the panel. So we will slowly practice what has to be put in practice, and then we will work on more and more refining the system. I think in years to have many number of sailors.
Yes, yes. Radhika, thank you so much. Yes, and Madam Joshi is indeed a part of this panel. And I have somebody writing, it says PM India. I don't know if it's from the Prime Minister's office or not, but it says PM India. It says, the chat says, ICI started the barrage of women seafarers in India from 2002 to 2003. SCI needs to be appreciated for the influx. At that time, no one was willing to accept what we in SCI did. Today, we do not remember the contribution of SCI. Unfortunately, we do remember the contribution of India and
yes,
SCI.
SCI was the only promoter, Captain Shaukat.
Yes.
And as I told you earlier, like although there were no guidelines and things, the people in the office, people on the ship also, all men are not against a change. People want a change, and they are supportive. There are only few people who are for them, they find it very difficult to come out of the bias. So
Yes.
I am very grateful to SCI. I've said that this on many platforms, because hadn't it been for SCI, I wouldn't get my promotion as master also.
Yes, Radhika, and I want to hear it from the Doyen who's with us and then who's been leading SCI, and now PM has confirmed that he's not the Prime Minister and he's Philip Matthews. So welcome, Philip Matthews also. And yes, ma'am, now I'm turning to you, because a lot of discussion is going on with SCI, and we all know that you were with Changemaker leading the first Indian's first ship with all women officers. And this is for Mrs. Joshi. Ma'am, you've led prominent leadership roles in your capacity as the former CMD of SCI as well, and in other positions. What initiatives, and I know Neeta ma'am had spoken of some of these initiatives which MSC takes, but in your idea, what initiatives do you believe are the real crucial ones for the companies to create a supportive and inclusive environment for women in maritime? If you can talk about this, would be really great.
Thank you, Shaukat, for this opportunity to share my views. And I think today I would like to say that we are not actually celebrating International Women's Day only for women, because man and women were made to coexist. And I've said this many times. So you cannot celebrate one creation of the Almighty, ignoring the other creation. So it's very important that we also celebrate men today who learn to respect women, who learn to give opportunity to women, who are treating women with equality. I think those men need to be celebrated. And I think, Shaukat, you've done a great job putting on this event with 5 women taking that initiative. So I think we celebrate you also today. Any man who is standing up for the cause of women and supporting women,
Thank you.
I would say he is part and parcel of the International Women's Day, and he needs to be celebrated. So now with that background, this is the way I was working in SCI, where it was not supporting only women. You need to support and encourage those men and showcase them who are supporting women. I think that is the change that requires to be brought into organizations, which will slowly change the mindsets. Because, while Neeta brought out very nicely, and of course, Jillian has made a remark in the chat box about mindset. Now, mindsets cannot change by rules, laws, and regulations, policies. A mindset requires behavioral change. And for that, the interaction between men and women in the organization, how they are treating, how they are accepting each other, that needs to change. So I think for the first and the foremost thing, which is very important, is providing a safe and secure working environment for women, ensuring that the dignity of the woman is always intact, the confidence that she can work regardless of her gender, that is very important. And that is the cultural change which is required in every organization. If women do not feel secure, even if they are very good, they will not be able to perform. So that is the first point. I'm going to give you 5 points. The second is giving equal opportunities. Now let's take a case where there is only one position, and I'm not going to say that the woman is better. If there is a equally competent man and an equally competent woman for that single position, we know to whom the chair will go. Now that, in case of equal opportunities, I think the change which needs to come when we are talking about diversity and inclusion, I think the graciousness is that if that opportunity, if the woman is equally competent, should go to the woman. And for that, we need to always address, there is a lot of conscious bias, but that unconscious bias which is impacting mindsets, I think that needs to substantially change. So that is my third point. And if you find women with potential, but if you see that they are lacking in some skills, then I think you can have those upgradation training programs or anything which can give them that required skill set to prepare them for future leadership and future responsible roles. I think that is another initiative that organizations can take. And during my time, we revived the World Maritime University, giving people opportunity, which was there way back in SCI, but for some reason that had been discontinued, because I think training and upgradation of skills is something which is very important. And we did send women for that course to World Maritime University. And last but not the least, it's very important to have more women in leadership positions, because these women in leadership positions are going to be the drivers of change. They are themselves role models, as well as they can bring about the change in the organization culture, and they can impact all those 4 points which I just talked about. And while Neeta did talk about a lot of policies, I think we need to see the day when these rules and regulations and policies don't really need to be enforced, because the organization culture is such, the acceptance is there, the equality is there. So the rules and regulations should be there, just much like the traffic policeman, he stands there, but he doesn't need to act all the time. So it should be only for those very remote, rare cases that the rules and regulations and the policies really need to come. There should be a complete change in culture and environment and mindset. Shaukat, we've talked about having Radhika talked about even women ratings coming on, and how if it's an only woman, she draws attention, which is there. I'm sure I've experienced it, and your video was very relevant, because it's very important that you're not the only one. So increasing numbers is very, very essential, so that you don't stand out in a crowd. And I've invariably been the only one all through my journey. And while TS Rahman is taking a lot of initiatives on women ratings, and they have got exclusive batches for women ratings, really appreciable. But I would be happy if there can be a combined batch. Because see, when they're going to go on the ship, they are not going to be in isolation and together. And it's very important that the training itself of coexistence is there. And those pre-sea training are very nice. But I've heard about cases where, even the physical exercises are done separately, swimming batches are done separately. Now tell me, if an incident happens on the vessel and you've got to jump across, will you be sending the women separately and the men separately? I think it's very important that the women and the men learn to coexist and respect each other with dignity.
Ma'am, it's a very enlightening, and you've touched upon really, really hardcore stuff here, because I felt I was on a national tour with all the institutions just around 2 or 3 weeks back, and I spoke to a lot of students, girl students and girl cadets and boy cadets, and in fact, in one group mentioned, of course, very jokingly mentions कि हम लोग को लड़के लोग का शोर लीव कैंसिल होता है, लड़की लोग का नहीं होता है. and which is a fact in the sense that that's the reason why I showed this video. And then it's not about standing out, it's about inclusivity and doing things together. I have taken these points which you've said on board. First is security, second is equal opportunities, third is subconscious bias, fourth is upgradation of the training programs. I think it's very important that these cultures are built across the companies to have these training programs in place. And then this is what brings me to a question which I want to throw at Saleha. Saleha, when we are talking about companies, and you are in the middle of doing things with the women's wing of and now women's wing of MUI, I believe and understand they've started working with seafarers. Initially they started only with shore-based people, families of seafarers, but now, yeah, as the women in maritime increases, you've started working with seafarers. I want to ask you the promotion, the promoting gender inclusivity. How can organizations collaborate with such wings as the institution that you lead, Women's Wing? How can organizations collaborate to with you and with the Women's Wing to enhance the opportunities of women in maritime sector? Is there a lot of possibilities which can happen if you both the companies and the Women's Wing work together?
Shokata, first and foremost, I want to just highlight a point which Ms. made, and with respect to mindset. And this is coming from the fact that I did my coaching certification and I'm also practicing as a maritime coach. So with mindsets and with unconscious bias, it's not like one gender sensitization course will help you to undo all those years of conditioning which we as a society have. India, especially the case wherein we have a very patriarchal society, and again, maritime industry, a very male-dominated sector. So, these kind of biases have been there for decades, and we, as an industry, also have just woken up to it since the past 10 years, maybe. So there is a lot that needs to be undone, and that cannot be done with one-off gender sensitization courses. But yes, mindset has to be done, and that's where coaching comes in. The coaches that they coach is through a series of coaching sessions wherein they go deep down, and those unconscious biases are basically cleaned up, and that's when the person opens up to accepting newer strategies. So this is an ongoing process, and it is not something that you can achieve by doing a one-time workshop or a seminar. The companies need to ensure that these kind of courses are an ongoing process, even when the seafarers are on board. And again, like Mrs. Joshi said, coexistence is extremely important. The more we coexist together, the more we break down those barriers, mental as well as all kind of barriers that we have, which, because it's not about women just working on board. It's also about those men who are coming from societies where they have never worked with a woman. So even for them, it can be a first time. So doing a course and going on board a ship, it's like theory and practice. So it will take time, and it will take some kind of cohabiting to really come out with the solutions. So that's the point I wanted to make with respect to mindset. Coming back to your question, yes, we as an industry really need to work together to collaborate to deal with these kind of, especially with gender equality and as a subject, which is a huge subject. And it's not an individual or an individual organization's responsibility. It's a concerted effort. Collaboration and network here would make the impact. Again, awareness sessions are extremely important. And it's like, if you maritime training institutes are doing their bit, unions are doing their bit, shipping companies are doing their bit, but in their own capacities. But as an industry, the more we come together, the bigger the impact, the bigger the message that is going to be sent out to the to the world, that yes, this is what we intend to achieve. That's extremely important.
Fantastic. I will, Saleha, these are again very, very important points that you're making, and very pertinent to the topics that we are discussing today. And I remember once you were telling me about the workshops, I remember I was in an institute where I saw, and without taking any names of institutes and the companies, I saw a company which was doing recruitment, the campus recruitment in that institute, and they had specifically come to that institute to recruit women. And I found it a bit strange. I came back home, and I was thinking, why would a company just go to recruit women, and why not maybe the most the like horses for courses, and why only women? And then I called up and I had a discussion with the leader of that company. And it's a very interesting thing the leader said. And he says, we want to have that balance on board, because women bring in such qualities which are very, very different from a man. And in fact, there is an absence of women on board. We find there is a misbalance of trust, a balance of equity. So with having more women on board, we are actually promoting the welfare, the mental balance of people on board. And this is where I wanted to come to Neeta ma'am with the next question. That you spoke about organizational development and all the courses and all the things that the system does. And from your perspective, Neeta ma'am, what are the key skills and leadership qualities which are unique to women that can bring into the maritime sector for driving progress? If your thoughts, if I can conjure your thoughts on that, please. Ma'am, you're muted.
Thank you, Shaukat. Women can do and bring necessary skills and leadership qualities that a role demands. In maritime, we talk about two sectors. One is onboard ships, cargo and cruises, and the other is onshore, which can involve prior sea experience, or like me, without certified sea experience, as my experience starting off as being a seafarer's wife. So I can understand the whole environment situation on board, onshore. So when discussing leadership qualities in shipping, so there is a great requirement to have a situational leadership skills, in fact. Women by nature excel in adapting to changing roles, whether it is managing home, raising children, or managing office. A woman can manage home, manage office. All these situations demand completely different qualities, giving women an edge in situational leadership to bring extra values. This is very important. They are adept at building relationship, courageous, and cannot be better example than Captain Radhika Menon, such a courageous woman, and for the bravery. Self-confidence is very important and resilient. It is also important to have the skills of emotional intelligence, including self-awareness. They have to know who they are. Self-regulation is important, in which women are really amazing. Empathy, motivation, and devotion, social networking. These are the very important skills where women can bring difference. I just want to give you just one example that for a healthy workplace, whether on board or in office, conflict management quality is extremely important. Women can add a lot of value here by effectively managing conflict. And a recent example I want to add on a different note, that we have amazing leader like officers on board. And I can give you one example. Using situational leadership, you can control all possibility. I just wanted to add that we have third officers, and there was a prolonged emergency where she acted in a way that I have a lot of praises, that during the communication, she was one of the communicating from the ship, from that prolonged emergency site, from the ship, and our operational team, safety team, and the technical team. They really praised, and the skills, the leadership skills, what she had is amazing. I'm giving you just one example. And that was that even a seasoned seafarer can find it challenging. It was really, really amazing to know that such skills are there. And I would like also to add, because I don't want to take much time, because we have a lot of wonderful speakers to add on. We all have to work together towards a sustainable future where every woman has the opportunity to reach to its full potential.
Fantastic, ma'am. And yes, I agree. And thanks for throwing light on what the companies do from their side. Some of the people are not aware of how strong the company's policies are towards uplifting the women, policies regarding training and development of women on board as well as the show. So thank you. And we have around 10 minutes, and we want to go again
And
across.
Mr. Sokat, just one line I just wanted to add, that if your policy is in place, if you have a solid foundation, if you have a culture set in the company, that is the right time and that is the right environment to be given either to a men and women. I mean, I can tell you that the safe working environment is really important. It gives you sustainable future. It gives you opportunity to work in a company where you feel secured. So it is very important. The policy and code of conduct, group values, core values are very important, definitely.
Yes, ma'am, and you're making very good points again. And I would like to say we are getting a lot of chats on the YouTube channels, and a lot of people are watching us live now, and there's a lot of chat on the Zoom as well as YouTube. I want to assure everybody that we are talking to some prolific ladies here, and we'll get your chance. We'll give you opportunity to interact with them after they finish their speeches, and we'll come back to you to post your questions to them directly. And this is a great example of seafarers who are watching this, and these are the people who are at the helm of companies. And when they say that you've got to join a company which will make you feel secure, and just don't close your mind, close your eyes and join any company. Do some background checks, and some of the companies will always be with you when you need them most. Jillian, I wanted you to share, because of your international experience and you being a part of Nautical Institute as the president also. Could you, I mean, people would want to know, could you share some examples, some successful examples, initiatives that have effectively promoted women's participation, advancement in maritime leadership roles across the world?
Well, there are so many around the world, and
yeah.
you actually have a wonderful example right in India itself with the work that Sanjam has been doing with Maritime CEO, showcasing the women in the maritime leadership roles. This is something I never saw in my initial career, and it wasn't even something I was encouraged to pursue. So as I noted earlier, International Women's Day is a great initiative, but one I hope that we can actually outlive sometime when we won't need it anymore. But these ongoing challenges, including a backward movement in some countries even, where women are actually losing rights and beginning even to lose the right to their own bodies, it means that we really need to keep the focus. As Mrs. Joshi noted, it's more than just hiring on merit, but also having a focus on diversity hires. There are maritime equity programs that I see around the world. We have one here in Australia that did focus specifically to bring in and to change diversity and bring about equity within a maritime environment. There are mentoring programs that are really beginning to make a tangible difference because, and I think Radhika mentioned that as well, we need to work with each other and to support each other. The coaching that Saleha was mentioning. And she also did comment, Saleha had mentioned that one course is not enough. For so many decades, even centuries, women have not been welcomed in many aspects of industry, specifically the maritime industry. They didn't have a voice at the table. So moving to equity is a big change, and it won't just happen on its own. I started in the industry in the 1980s, and 2% of seafarers were women. And last year, we heard that 1.2% of seafarers are women. So 40 years later, and we aren't making progress. So obviously, we need to change something. That's where this focus activity to bring diversity into the workforce is really important. So that concept of an equity program, I think one of the single biggest initiatives that I have seen that is moving the needle, is bringing about that tipping point, is that visible leadership. So we are seeing visible leadership from powerful women and men leaders, many of whom may not even be comfortable providing it, but they realize the importance of what they're doing. And I honor them and their visible leadership because they can make a difference. I still firmly believe that you have to see it, and then you have to actually believe that it is possible for you. And so just by advertising a job and saying we want to hire women, that's not going to be enough. we need to actually make something that is going to be tangible, change the job description, change the advertising approach that we use, really appeal to them so that a girl not only sees the role, but they actually believe that it's something they can do. Then we consider doing it, and then they actually will then move into those roles. So that's that, see it, believe it, and be it. You need to have that, all those three in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you. We have one last question for all the speakers, and then we'll move on to the audience as well. Now, Radhika, uh, I've seen you mentoring so many people, and so many people are looking up at you as a role model, being the first lady captain of India. I mean, wow. I mean, I would just like to ask you, when you're engaging with the new generation of young seafarers who are coming up to you and asking advice, what advice do you have for these aspiring female mariners, particularly female mariners who are navigating through the challenges of again, male-dominated industry? Lots of things are changing now, but what is the advice that you give them? Radhika?
Captain Shaukat, what I would like to tell the younger generation of females who want to take up sea career, they should study what exactly is a sea career and what stream they have to get into early. And when they come into the further academics, they should focus on the learning part of things, because sea career is such a profession where nobody can do your job for a long time. So when you come on board, whatever you have studied ashore in your institutions, you should be able to apply, or you have to enhance further on your learning. You cannot be dependent on somebody, because nobody has the time to do somebody else's job. So, and that is how the dropout happens. Now the tides have changed entirely. A lot of companies are taking women, and women are maximum on it. Is, I think, seafaring is becoming lesser male dominated domain. So all the best to all of you, and wish you all safe sailing. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhika. I'm sure this is going to be a huge inspiration to all the people, all the young men and women who are watching. I have sent this link to all the training institutes, and I've asked everyone to watch this, and I'm sure they are doing so at the end as we speak. Now, you rightly mentioned, about the career not being, there has to be something to fall back on, and this is where I come back to Mrs. Joshi. Joshi ma'am, I would like to ask you, how can the industry leaders, especially now, maritime doesn't only mean seafaring. I mean, it's a huge industry, and you are at the helm of being a leader yourself, but we don't have many women leaders in maritime right now. I mean, is it only because of breaking the glass ceiling? And how can industry leaders like you contribute to, inspiring others to break the glass ceiling for women aspiring to reach top executive positions in maritime sector?
So, Shaukat, it's a open secret that obviously it wasn't easy for me, and there was a lot of resistance and hostility also because I was the first one. But I would also say that when I joined the maritime industry in 2015, the environment at that time and the environment today has undergone a sea change. And maybe that is because there in the form of a woman was seen in the industry and there was a role model which people could emulate. So it's I'm only one, and I'm very happy that today we've got more male audience and participation than the female, because these and many of them are industry leaders themselves. So I would say that the industry leaders are truly like lighthouses, and they are the lighthouses of the maritime industry, and the beacon of light that they emit, that should be focused on such women who are aspiring to take on more executive leadership positions or break the glass ceiling. Similar to a lighthouse where, no matter wherever it is located, the purpose is always the same, to warn ships of danger and guide them safely on their way. So I think that is what the industry leaders really need to do. They can show the path, they can guide, they can coach, they can mentor, and most importantly, support aspiring women leaders and believe in them, accepting them, acknowledging them, and also making way for them. Actually, the message always goes top down. So it is the leaders who can ensure that the message goes right down till the bottom.
Fantastic, ma'am. Coming back to me, when I walk into a shipping office, and I walk into many shipping offices all the time, and I see a lot of women working in the offices. But unfortunately, when we talk about succession planning, when we talk about people, the women ascending the ladder and going up into top level executive roles, we don't see much women. I want to come back to you on this again, and this is something I think the industry needs to look at. We are getting excellent response in the YouTube as well as in the Zoom. There are a lot of people waiting with their chats. We'll come back to you. One last question to Saleha as we finish this episode with all the speakers. And Saleha, what is the future for Maritime Union of India Women's Wing, since you're leading this and you have come and you're actually visually shifting from just serving families to serving seafarers on board also? What is the plan ahead? What does the Women Wing intend to do to uplift the women in maritime?
Okay, so Shaukat, to just take further the point that Mr. Joshi made about the message coming from top down, and she has been a brilliant mentor and an amazing leader and a great source of inspiration for all of us. So, and it's always a pleasure to listen to her every time because there's something new that you learn from her. So coming back to what she mentioned, I would like to add that yes, there are today the workforce that we have, the young girls that are out there ready to take over as women seafarers. They are amazing. But when it comes to climbing the ranks, especially to going to top leadership positions, sometimes there is a limiting belief which holds them back as well. So it's a culmination of factors. That even if there are companies who are willing to probably give the opportunity, but the candidate is qualified but may not be willing to take that position. So here again, a lot of leadership and mindset coaching is required, and that we can do through our educational programs and seminars. That is exactly what we at the MUI Women's Wing work towards, And initially, as my brainchild, it started off as a community support system for seafarers' families. But we also focused on women seafarers, and slowly through the way we've been majorly focusing on women seafarers. And just to add here, that due to personal reasons, I was based in Istanbul for the last 3 years, but I'm back here in Mumbai, and I want to take on this very, very aggressively because I know I've been missing. This is like my passion, my baby. So I am really going to work on more in this direction. Because first and foremost, the very topic of gender equality also gets mired by harassment and those kind of issues. So those are issues which we get very normally at the union at our helplines. We have a 24/7 helpline which comes to me directly, and there are many cases of harassment that come in. And it's sad that we are working towards empowerment of women. We're talking so much about having women seafarers, but once they start working on ships, they are facing harassment and abuse. And many a times, even after taking the right course of action, the results are not as what we would like to be. The victims keep suffering. They are the ones who are at loss because they end up losing their jobs, and the culprits go scot-free because unfortunately sometimes the system is such that they are the company supports them, or somebody knows somebody higher up in the company, and that's where action is not taken. So these are topics that don't get discussed, and we need to bring these out. Coming back to what we intend to do is bring out these topics more openly and discuss them on a larger platform. I have also been doing this work internationally, globally. Jillian is part of that forum where we discuss harassment and abuse and policy making regarding that. So these are the kind of forums that we need to work on, these kind of forums, and bring more more interaction between the companies. Also, we educational wise, I feel that training is required in terms of skill building. Like we have these women seafarers who are, who can upskill, and we at Maritime Union of India Women's Wing want to help them out with their personality development, with their professional and personal board development, so that they can take up leadership roles. They can come ashore, they can take up maritime entrepreneurship, because that is something we don't have so many women in at least in the Indian sector. Like, for example, I mentioned this at one of the forums recently. How many women ship owners or ship managers do we have from India? I mean, we know that there are a lot of Greek women ship owners, but how many do we have from India? I mean, and this is something that means that there is a blockage somewhere, and we are not going in that direction. We are not addressing those factors as well. So here again, we need to work on those issues. As also, networking and collaboration with amongst organizations to tackle these issues on a larger level, make a lot more noise, because unless we get heard, solutions won't come out. We've been talking about building up skills, we've been talking about training, but the progress is very slow. We really need to look into this at a very, very minutely. And as Mrs. Mary De Cruz, who's doing amazing work in the terms of mental health, she made a comment here as well, that we also need to look into the mental health of women seafarers. And why just women seafarers? We're talking about women in maritime. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and a lot of factors as well. So it's a holistic approach. It's a holistic approach, and that is what we can achieve when all the organizations come together with concerted efforts, not individual, and not just beating their chest about what they do, but collectively come together. That's what I would like to say.
Very good, very good. And this is a great ending. And like I said, so many people are commenting on and watching us on YouTube. I want to now have a small session with all we've got so many of the people here joining us, and Captain Basin is there. I saw Captain Girish Fadnis joined in. I don't know whether he's still there. And Barry De Cruz is there. Why don't we just throw open it to the house for the next couple of minutes or 5 minutes, where we can have questions, take questions for the esteemed panelists, or somebody can share a view. A lot of comments coming in. Somebody said, let's not forget the First Lady of Indian Shipping, Sumati Moraji of Scindia's Team Navigation, and her story is so amazingly inspiring. Yes, and yes. So Dr. Mary, you've been Captain Gajanan. How are you, sir? Great to see you. Why don't you say something? We just completed the webinar, and officially, and now we've thrown the house open, so we can
Sure.
something from
Thank
your
you
side
very
as well.
much, and very innovative to have man getting talking to the women.
that is what I
And
bring in, the
understanding,
diversity
because
part.
absolutely great. I mean, I've had a pleasure of listening to all the panelists, and of course, everyone has the view which has come from the experience that they have seen and they have done, and they all have done well in their lives. So they have all the powers to say so as to the demand things from shipping. There's one book, I don't know how many of you have read, and you must promote that book of Sandy Shergill's Lean In. If you really apply that book, and that book requires to be applied to the maritime women as well, and it has got all things there what a woman needs to have. I mean, just to summarize, I've read that book many times, and I've read it to my daughter. I mean, chapter by chapter. So I really know that book kind of by heart. And there are few points which are very important, which are related to the maritime as well. His willingness is very important. Willingness to be there, willingness to lead, willingness to make themselves competitive. This is something which the women has. I'm sure maritime is not located on the moon, so it'll definitely be done. Today, on a lot of ships, I visit a lot of ships every week, so I see a lot of women are not, I mean, complaints on the ship staff as to they're not willing to learn, willing to put their hand up, saying, okay, I will do this job or something like that. That's something, which the privilege status must actually go off, you know. So we don't have a gender there. There's no gender on a master mariner. Master mariner is a matter of range, not a rank. So that's one thing. And again, there are many points I could summarize, that be vocal about things, and not in a complaining manner, but of course, if something goes wrong, they need to be there to say something about it. Be courageous to say something about it, and say it without having to worry about the consequences. We all are there to support everyone out there. That's it. I mean, thank you so much,
Thank
really,
you. Thank you.
and
Thank you.
thank you, Saleha, as well, for the MUI Women's Wing. You're doing absolutely great job. I'm sure many more, kudos to you all. And we all should see 50% women on ships, sailing. So in few years' time. Thank you.
And if there is 100% women, then we will have a diversity on our side.
Then we will have men in maritime program.
Captain Basin, sir, you're there. Thanks for coming. Captain Fadnis is also there. If you can throw some light on this, and would be great to hear your views on this as well.
Thank you, Captain Shokat. First of all, thank you so much for arranging this wonderful event. And on the very apt day, since morning, I have some women with me in my office.
Yeah, I can
So
see
she
that,
been
yes.
speaking, please come, please come. And they have been listening. They are very happy that Neetaji is here in the event. All of them are sitting.
Thank
Come,
you
come, come, come,
so
come.
I was
much.
about to say, behind successful leaders, there are a lot of other women
See,
leaders.
all these ladies. And we have about 40 plus ladies in the office. All of them have got a gift. And they're offering me some sweets to eat.
Wow.
So today they are celebrating not only for themselves, they're also looking after the men. And that is what I feel
Absolutely.
good for.
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Joshi ne bola, it is not only the women, also the men.
Man.
Also the men. So that's the spirit. So
Yes.
thanks from all of them, Joker, from all of them.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank
sitting
you.
in their laptop on the YouTube.
Yes.
All of them.
I can see Patricia there. Yes. Thank you. And MSc it's a really good example of women empowerment. And whenever I walk in, the energy of all the women there, and I think your ratio is much lean in towards women. I think
Because we have
more
this
women.
instruction coming from Neetaji. She keeps asking. Every month when we send our manning report, she says, how many ladies and how many men? Every month. So that's good. But it's a wonderful thing what we are doing. You cannot ignore the women power. And they are the power actually, by all means. However, holding hands is also most important. Like today when we are, I did not go for personally to greet somebody because there were so many things going on. But some of the boys came back and they said, why only the ladies are getting gift? Why not the us? So men are also feeling why only the women are getting something? Why not men? So there should be a hand holding. I feel there should be a equality from both the sides. And my best wishes to all the women in the world, especially the women
Thank you.
in maritime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And then finally, PM.
Thank you, Captain Basin.
And finally, PM's, nobody has blocked your video. I think there was some security, some setting now. Philip Matthews' video is finally on. And Girish Fadnis, sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you all. Wonderful program. I sadly was in and out of the connection. I was traveling, but nice to meet all of you all. And Shokat, thanks. On a lighter note, what Captain Karanjikar was saying, or what you mentioned, you get 100% women. Boss, you'll be out of that place where you're sitting. So that's fun. That's good. We also had a Women's Day celebration yesterday. We at MTM, we have almost reached a figure of 35% of our staff are women in the office. So that's a fairly decent number. So we get overpowered by all these ladies around. So we don't have much of a choice. So the guys like what Captain Basin was saying that what about Men's Day? So they very smartly said it's 14th of November, so you can wait till then. But on a lighter note, thank you very much, Shokat, for this. And all the ladies present and those who are hearing. We look forward for meeting up and more.
Yeah, I think your voice is failing because you must maybe in a low network zone. PM, I think Philip Matthews has raised up his hand. Thank you so much. PM, Philip Matthews has raised up, has got his hand raised. I think you want to say something, Philip, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for such a nice day. First of all, greetings of the day of the International Women's Day. See, we have been having every year conferences, meetings. May again, the Women in Maritime is coming. We will be celebrating at that time, of course. But what is the tangible result? We should also work towards tangible results. Conferences, seminars, workshops. See, I am not being critical. I am a result-oriented person. I want results. See, women in maritime. I will take 2 minutes. Please excuse me for that. Have we since 2002, of course, Radhika is an exceptional case. She came as a, I know her career span quite well. It's an exception. But since 2002, when we started with women, till today, now last 2019 onwards, we are finding a rush of putting women. We still, I have a request from a company to take a batch full of girls. Are we able to achieve that? No. You ask any company, they cannot get. Maersk with great efforts got one batch of 40. We are not able to attract women into this career. It's a fact. We have to work towards it. There has to be a program which I would request the ISWF or whatever Vista or whoever is there. You all also should take a lead. You should also with MUI, not only the companies. The companies are interested, but there is a limitation, how much they can do for it. Second thing is what I would like to know is that regarding this SASH, sexual assault and sexual harassment, this thing has mainly come out from the incidents which has taken place in the West, on some ships in the US crew and all. How much of this is affecting the Indian context? This we must get a statistical data because the DG shipping has got multiple grievance lines. We must identify this and we must try to address them. IMO has come in that latest amendment, SASH is introduced into PSST and all that. It is true, but we must also, with the help of DG shipping, try to find out something and work towards it. If this occurrence of SASH in the Indian shipping is large, or it was there, I am fully aware because I was fully involved in SCI's recruitment program in 2002 onwards. So it was there, but still, when we got the critical mass, on ship, we had at one stage about 5% women in SCI fleet. So if it goes up to maybe 10%, 15%, this will not happen. But it was there when we had hardly a girl. We had a policy to have 2 ladies on board, and that I believe is still continued. Yeah, this is what I wanted to bring. And what are we looking at all in the Indian context? How do we make a blast in the media to get women into the maritime industry? Today, everybody wants women, but we are not able to get the numbers.
Mr. Philip, it was very nice that you brought these 2 points, and which is there where we are working. And for that only I have been speaking that we have an adopt a ship program, which we have already started to create an awareness from the young generation. And we connect them with our own vessels where the seafarers talk about the life. And we also go for the career day. We talk all the female child, male child, everyone, and they all are really liking it. They are talking about and creating awareness from the young generation. We have started this together with Cyprus Shipping Chamber here in Cyprus, and now we have extended there in India as well. And the Adopt a Ship program, we are going, and we are, the top priority is given to our seafarers, that we are asking them to hold a session towards the school in India, and the male, our captain and chief engineers, they are going to the school and approaching the school, talking about and creating awareness about like an adopt a ship program. I just wanted to add you to your second question. It is very, very important. That's why I was talking about a proper policy in place and the solid foundation. If you have any company has the policy and in the right place, and policy is being complied by the people, it will be complied only when you communicate it to them. Not one time, several times it takes to communicate that this is your code of conduct. This is what everyone has to comply. And that's what makes us, that policy is very important. If you have the right policy, you have the solid foundation, and people will comply and everyone in the company will comply. And this is going to give you a future sustainable growth in the company, where people will feel secured, they will feel safe to work in amazing environment, where you have a proper code of conduct, where you are talking about the diversity, equity, inclusion. You are talking about health, mental health. You are talking about speak up of line, where you can bring and complain. You can bring your grievances, where you can talk about anything you feel, that you are open communication, where there is a diverse workforce, where you can grow. And this is what this is all about, that how we can bring bring difference, what was and what is now and what is today. What action we take today, it's going to affect our tomorrow. So this is what, and I really like that the 2 points you brought is what I wanted to speak on your
Madam, thank you
on your
so
point.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
My wife is the principal of one of the reputed schools in Mumbai, and I am working with Captain Basin. He has brought adaptership to the school, and they have given. They
Thank you
have come.
so much. This is one like a certified.
Yeah, their school children are very
Perfect.
enthused, and they are working on the adaptership program in Don Bosco Matunga in Mumbai.
Thank you
Captain
so
BK
much.
Jha, Captain
We'll be
BK Jha has
continuing
raised
doing
up his hand. I want to give him a chance as well. So, Captain Jha, sir, you have your hand raised. You want to say something? Captain Jha, you have a hand raised. Do you want to say something?
Yes, Shaukat.
Yes,
Good
sir. How
evening
are
to
you?
you. I'm fine. Good evening to you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can
Fantastically
hear you, sir.
well. Please continue.
Okay, Nita, I wanted to tell that we need women in the leadership position. We don't need down below. Because my daughter, she herself
Yes,
is the
sir.
vice president. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead, sir. We can hear
We
you.
can hear you, sir.
Okay. So she often tells me that we need women in the leadership position who can really make changes. You can have a lot of changes down below, but it will not change on the top. It has to be top down. And another question I have is how do you change the mental condition, mindset? You remember I was the master last year of CMMI. I started the motivational program or mentorship program for all the cadets. And I did not get any single lady cadet. All boys, about 70 to 80 boys we mentored, all of them are boys. So why it is so? Okay, thank you. That's all.
I will just I would like to thank the speakers. The BK Jha sir, thank you very much for your statements. And I don't want to extend this beyond this because everybody, we're supposed to have this for 1 hour only. So I would like to thank Gillian. Gillian has to rush for another meeting, and it's I think late in Australia now. Gillian, Saleha, Joshi ma'am, Neeta ma'am, and Radhika, thank you so much for doing this for all of us and for inspiring generations to, and this will be on record and we'll put this on YouTube and I will send this across to all the institutions. And one thing, saying you just make a statement, but I'd like to tell you that each statement, each word that you say today is such an inspiration to the people who are looking up at joining, and they see you at this chair and they see what you have achieved, and they go back home and they look into the mirror and they ask themselves, even we can do it. If they can do it, then we can do it. And they know that you are there for them. And it is such a huge, such a huge shoulder that you give them. It's really amazing, ma'am. So, and being a part of the industry myself and working with so many students, and I know they really look up to you. They want this opportunity to interact with you, engage with you. So I again, Jillian, each one of you, Jillian, Saleha, Neeta ma'am, and Joshi ma'am, and Radhika, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Shaukat,
Thank
just
you.
for the sake of
Thank you,
record,
Shaukat.
can we have a picture of the screen with everybody's thumbs up?
Yes, please. That's immediate. That we've been my team has been taking a lot of pictures all the while anyway. But yes, with all the
Sorry,
thumbs up.
I can't have my picture. Okay.
Yes, I had that, and I will make some some kind of
Saleha, Neeta,
trophy out
Madam,
of this.
thank you very much.
Uh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Basin
Thank
sir,
you,
for all
sir.
your support. Also, always. Thank you, uh, Captain Philip Matthews, for your statements, for bringing in value to this by sharing your thoughts with us. Captain Gajanan, thank you so much. And sir, yes, I think Basin.
Because what happened is that we can have a lot of policies, we can change, we can write, but it has to be rewritten. That's all. But how do we change the mindset? That's the
Sir, one of the
important
things
part.
which I can say, you
Yeah.
start beating, and hammering and hammering and hammering. Ultimately, they'll reach the breaking point.
Communication.
So this is something that we do continually, and we are at it all the time, every morning, every day. And we look forward when we are hopeful for a very, very nice change. And this will happen, sir. I mean, it's amazingly. It's happening when I walk into an institute, and there's so many girls. I mean, previously 5 years back, I didn't see so many girls. There's so many girls around, and people are running and playing football, and they're doing the same things that the boys are doing in the institutes. And I'm really amazed at the kind of change that we've been brought, and the future is so
Very good.
bright ahead. So
What about Captain Basin? He's also very busy.
Saleha, yes, Saleha, you wanted to say something?
Saleha,
Your hand
Yeah.
raised.
Just to answer Captain Jha, I mean, like I mentioned, the mindset, changing the mindset is not a one-time solution. It is a constant, repetitive task, and it again and again. When you keep saying the same thing, like for example, when you say you keep saying the same lie, it becomes a truth. In the same way, if you talk positive again and again, it kind of gets reinforced. So whatever we are saying, whatever moves that we want to make positively, it has to be repeated consistently, and that's how it will get to change.
yeah,
Correct.
that's
Correct.
I
Right.
feel
Adding to,
also.
adding to what just adding to what Saleha said, that answers Captain Matthew's point also, that this
I think some.
meetings that we have and conferences that we have probably is only to hammer the point.
Yeah. That's what we keep on hammering till and we reach the tensile strength, and
Correct.
we
This
we
is what
hope.
we said, that you have to communicate, and then people will realize that yes, this is there. So it is very important to communicate
So-
and change the
So
mindset.
thank you,
But
ladies.
Neeta, how do you make sure that it is done? How do you make sure? How do you ensure?
So it is shown in the culture and in the environment at the workplace, and it is very important that you can see it. Like, it's not that you once you told and it has not been complied by people, but people feel it. Unless they feel it, and make it sure that this is very important for the company, they realize it, and you can see it in the work environment, in the culture. And this is what it makes the difference, that whether your policy is working or not, whether the mindset is changing or not. So it will be shown definitely in the work environment, because it's a culture. People have to do that if they want to be in that such organization or in such environment.
Right, ma'am. I think we.
Neeta, Sagat, 1 minute. Neeta,
Um,
1 more minute. Neeta, can you tell me,
Yes,
have
sir.
you punished any male people for this? Have you done anything? Punished?
So,
Well, you are
we
not following the rules, so
no,
you are out.
our culture is not to punish anyone. I will just
Okay.
give you one example. In our company, if the people make mistakes, we never take them out. Instead, we feel that they are now experienced and they have learned, and they will never make mistake again. Maybe they will be the one to be the coach and mentor for others, how not to make mistakes, how to be proactive. And in this case, I would like to say that we never punish. If people have such mindset, then it is the time when we talk to them, coach them, and in the environment where they understand. And if they don't understand, then it is very important that that means that's not the place for the person. Like, we have a group values, like we talk about family, caring for people, equal opportunity, passion, innovation. If the people are not living up to the values, it means that they are not a part of it. So it is there that we don't punish the people. Instead, we try try to groom them, grow them. But if not, that means that's not the place for such
And
persons.
this
So-
amazing webinar has given me a impetus to do this offline now. Next time we will have this offline and we'll continue the discussion. And
Thank you, Shaukat. Thank you.
like
Shaukat, I think Dr. Mary D'Cruz would like to
Yes.
add something.
Thank
Yes.
you, Captain Shaukat, and happy Women's Day to all the amazing ladies here. I'd just like to say, Captain Jha is repeatedly asking, how do you address? See, I think we need to have a Google document circulated to all our women working in the maritime industry and ask them, since it's going to be anonymous, so what are the genuine problems they face? And these have to be addressed point on point, looking at what is the thing that is most troubling them. Sometimes it could be just as simple as not being able to go past to a toilet where there are a lot of men there. So there are very simple things, but we need to address them. And sometimes those are the things which could be addressed by the company concerned. And like you said, a repeat offender, Madam has already said, if it's happening too many times, then that person needs to be brought to task to let the people know that you're serious about these complaints that may happen. So while we need to ignore some of them as not really ignore, but address them in a particular manner, which is decided by the company. But women need to be secure in the fact that if they do complain, they are taken seriously.
Dr. D'Cruz, thank you so much. And this is a learning, and I can promise you that from now on, taking the cue from what you said, I've already started and I've already sent a thing to my team that we will prepare a Google document and we will release it immediately as soon as maybe tomorrow itself. And this will be done together with the MUI Women's Wing. And do you mean only the women seafarers, or do you mean the office as well? So this
I
is
would say
pertaining
the
to
office
seafarers.
as well, because the office problems could be different.
Yeah, because then
in
we are
terms
going
of-
into a much different
Right.
realm, if we stick to
But
the
those that
papers.
are out at sea are definitely of a different nature. Women have certain, medical issues which probably need to be addressed better.
Yes.
We could
So
talk about them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can officially end this because we've crossed the
One
time. Sir,
short
I
for
think,
me.
sir, we need
One
to have a
second.
answer.
I just want to know, how do you bring the lady on the top position?
Sir, I think we'll need a separate
Okay.
webinar for 1.5 hours for this. I mean, you can't expect somebody to answer this in one line.
Sure.
So what I'm saying is, again, thanking you. And I think our webinar today has been a powerful reminder that the maritime industry, like the sea, is vast and filled with opportunities. Let's all continue to break barriers, uplift each other, and navigate towards the future of sustainable growth. I thank you for being part of this transformative event. Until we meet again, and maybe all experience a journey filled with success and fulfillment. So thank you to all our people. Thank you to Namaskar, and thank you to all our speakers, all the supporters behind the scene, people who've joined in, people who've chatted, people who've been with us on the YouTube, and we will get the recording across to you. So thank you. Have a lovely weekend ahead, and happy International Women's Day to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the
Thank you
Maritime
so
Union of India, I
much.
would like to thank the TNC and especially Captain Shaukat Mukherjee for moderating and holding an amazing discussion and bringing out the most amazing responses from all the speakers. And thank you for a lovely audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Captain Tushar Pradhan behind the scenes. He's been supportive all the time, and he was supposed to attend, but he is in a no network zone. He's traveling, but he's just gave me a call and given us best wishes for this thing. And like I said, thank you to Captain Basin, thank you to Captain Gajanan, thank you to Captain Girish Fadnish, Philip Matthews, and all of them. So this is Naval Connection and MUI Women's Wing signing off. Thank you, Nita ma'am. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.